Hello guys, it's Penguin here, and today I'm going to be discussing all the weapons from the Ashes Variando and the Ring City, and discussing the unique movesets of each one and its weapon arts, discussing which moves are parryable and which ones are not. We're not going to be showcasing the whole moveset, just the unique parts about it, and big thank you to El Jumper for helping me out, and I hope you guys can learn something from this video, as so did me and El Jerpo, and let's just get right into it. So the very first weapon is what we're going to have is the Valor Heart, and the Valor Heart's weapon art, when it's the light attack, is parryable, but any other attack where it uses a shield, like in the weapon art with its heavy attack, is not parryable. Now the Crow Quill's its throwing knife attack is not parryable, but if they follow it up with the weapon art and do another attack, then it is parryable. The Follower's Saber, its very first attack in the weapon art is parryable, but if they do I think it was another right bumper attack, then it's not. It's only the very first beginning part. Now if they try and do the weapon art and follow it up with the right trigger at the very end, it is actually parryable. Now with the Onyx Blade, since it's just a weapon buff, it's really nothing special about it. Just that the weapon buff itself is not parryable. Now the Millwood Battle Axe, the stepping attacks are obviously not parryable, but the Warcry buff effect, even when they do the right trigger, it is still parryable. Now the Earthseeker, since it's just a ground attack, there's really nothing you can parry, so obviously you can see right there, it's unparryable. Now the Quakestone Hammer as well, both of its attacks on this weapon armor, so the slam and the lift up attack, are both unparryable. Now the Follower's Javelin, no matter what distance you are from it, the weapon art where he throws his spear at you is still unparryable, no matter at what distance. Alright, so since the Follower's Torch technically counts as a torch for me, the running attack is parryable, the rolling attacks are parryable, the regular right bumper attacks are parryable, and the heavy attacks are parryable. The weapon art itself, actually, where it breathes fire, is actually not parryable, of course, because it's just breathing fire. Well, I guess you could spell parry if you want to. Alright, so next we got our mannequin claws, and whether it be the beginning animation of the mannequin claws or the very end part, there's not a single part of it that is parryable. Now for Sister Frieda's scythe, their heavy attack on her weapon art, where she throws the ice, is unparryable, and her flurry of attacks with her light are also unparryable. No matter which attack you try and get at, doesn't matter which one you want, it's just unparryable. There's not a single one attack in there. Tried multiple times, but we still couldn't find anything. Pretty sure that there's nothing in there that's parryable. Now with the Ring City weapons, we have our Murky hand scythe, and since it just has quick step, there's really nothing to explain there. But with the Ring Knight straight sword, something that's cool is at the very beginning animation part where on the weapon art is actually parryable, and even the overhead slash attack is also parryable on the weapon art. And when they do the weapon art and you do the heavy attack where he does that lunge attack, it is also parryable. Now the split leaf greatsword is kind of interesting to say the least, where the start of animation is actually not parryable, but the spin itself actually is parryable. But if they go from the spin into a light attack or a heavy attack, neither of those attacks are parryable. The only thing that's parryable is the spin itself. Now with Leto's Great Hammer or Slam Hammer, whatever one you want to prefer to call it, there's not a single part in that weapon art that is parryable. With our Locked War banner here, yep. Alright, so now we have our Ring Knight Spear, and the very beginning part of it where he lunges towards you is actually parryable, and even the second attack is also parryable where he does the overhead slash. And even after the overhead slash, there's one more move you can do, and that part is also parryable. Now, the Crucifix of Mad King, we showcased the heavy attacks on it because since it's a Hellbird, but it does the heavy attacks of a Grey Hammer, and so you can't parry it. And like the weapon art of the very first attack, or whether it be the second attack, neither of it is parryable. Next up, we got our Demon Scar, and since it's a Curse Sword, it has the very beginning of the Spin Slash weapon art. And whether it be the Spin Slash or the Overhead Slash, neither of it's parryable. And of course, you can see right here, even Pyromancies is not parryable. And now we have our Herald Legion Great Curse Sword, and whether it be the light attack or the heavy attack with its weapon art, neither of it's parryable. And of course, we have our Ring Knight paired great, ultra great, paired rare great swords, paired greatness. Sorry to inform you guys, but we couldn't find anything that was parryable about it, whether it be the weapon art or any of its left bumper attacks. The only thing we could find was just regular right bumper attacks, but other than that, I mean, fuck these weapons, honestly. Alright, so now we have our Preacher's staff, or Preacher right arm staff, or whatever. The weapon art on it is parryable, and the Frayed Blade's flurry of attacks, its heavy attacks on its weapon art, is not parryable, but the light attack actually is parryable. Now we have our Aquamarine Dagger. I'm sorry if I probably butchered that wrong, but when it's in its lightsaber mode, the light attacks and heavy attacks are all parryable. Now with Gale's Greatsword, the jumping attack where he leaps in the air is not parryable, but the Spin Slash following it up, it actually is parryable. Now if they do the heavy attack like that, it is not parryable. But other than that, guys, that about concludes our video. I hope you guys learned something alongside with me. And can we go ahead and aim for like